T4. Navratna, lay 9 gems, of Chandragupta II, 1 Kalidasa, poetry Ritusambha Meghdootam. Kumarsambhavan Raghuvamshama, Malviknagnimitra Shakuntalam, Vikramorvashiyam dramas Abhijanan. 2 Amara, Amarsinghakosha, Ganvanto, Navanitaka medicine text. 4 Rahmihira, Pach Siddhantaka, Vrikta Sanhita, Vrihat Jathaka, Lagu Jathaka. 5 Aruchi, Vartika comment on Ashtadhyayi. 7 Kshapranak 6. Gatakama 9. Shanku. 8 Velabhatta a Chinese pilgrim, visited India during Chandragupta's reign and described what he saw in his travelogue. 4 Goji titles, Devagupta Devraja Devashri, Parama Bhagwata, Narendra Chandra, Singh Vikram etc. Original types of gold coins, Dinaras Ashwarohi type, Chakradhari type, Chakravikram type etc. Kumaragupta I, 415 to 455 AD Chandragupta I was succeeded by his son Kumaragupta I. Towards the end of his reign, the Gupta Empire was threatened from the north by the Hans, who were temporarily checked by his son Skandagupta. Kumaragupta was the worshipper of god Kartikeya. He founded the Nalanda Mahavihara which developed into a great center of learning. Titles Mahendraditya, Mahendra Singh and Ashwamedha Mahendra, coins, etc. Original types of gold coins, Dinars Khagadri type, Gajarohi type, Gajarohi Singh Nihanta type, Kangnihanta i.e. Rhinoceros Slayer type, Kartikeya type, Apratigmudra type etc. Skandagupta, 455 to 467 AD Skandagupta, the last great ruler of the Gupta dynasty. During his reign the Gupta Empire was invaded by the Hans. He succeeded in defeating the Hans. Success in repelling the Hans seems to have been celebrated by the assumption of the title Vikramaditya, with three-pillar inscription. The continuous attacks of the Hans weakened the empire and adversely affected its economy. The gold coinage of Skandagupta bears testimony to this. The decline of the empire began soon after his death. Titles, Vikramaditya and Kramaditya, coins, Param Bhagwat, coins, Shakropama, Kahom pillar inscription, Devraja, Aya Manjushri Mulakalpa, etc. The Hans, 500 to 530 Adhans were primitive pastoralists owning herds of cattle and horses but knowing nothing of agriculture. They roamed in the steppe in search of pasture and water. From the Okshus, the White Huns came into Afghanistan, destroyed the local power and, after establishing themselves there, began to pour into India in 458 AD. However, Skandagupta, who was at the time ruling in northern India, checkmated them effectively. Whenever the Gupta Empire's resistance collapsed, the Huns occupied the areas up to central India and Malwa about 500 AD. There were two powerful Hun rulers, Toramana and his son Mihikula. They ruled during 500 to 530 AD. Mihikula, a Shaivite, was a persecutor of Buddhism. In 530 AD, the Huns were uprooted by Yashodhamana of Mandasore. 35. Vaktakas, 3rd century 5th century AD. Vaktakas were the most important power that held sway over parts of Deccan and central India after the fall of the Satavahanas and before the rise of Chalukyas. The founder of the Vaktaka dynasty was Vindhyaskati, 255 to 75 AD. Vindhyaskati was succeeded by his son Pravarasena I, 275 to 335 AD, who was the real founder of the Vaktaka Empire. He performed 4 Ashwamedha Yajnas. After his death, the empire was divided. Rudrasena I took over the reins of main branch, i.e. northern branch. He was the contemporary of Samudragupta. Rudrasena I was succeeded by Prithvisen I. He was contemporary of Chandragupta II. Chandragupta married his daughter Prabhavatigupta to the prince Rudrasena II. Prithvisna I was succeeded by his son Rudrasena II. Rudrasena II died after a short reign of 5 years, leaving behind 2 minor sons Divakasena and Damodasena. Prabhavatigupta ruled as a regent of her son. Later, Damodasena became ruler with the name Pravarasena I. Pravarasena II composed Setuband Ravanho, poetry, in Marathi script. Gupta inscriptions. Rulers' inscriptions, their character. Samudragupta Prayaga Allahabad Prasasti. Stone pillar Aaron stone pillar. Nalanda copper plate royal charter. Chandragupta II Mehro Ali iron pillar. Skandagupta Junagadh rock victory pillar. Indore stone pillar. Buddhagupta Paharpur copper plate royal charter. Evidence of state ownership of land. Administration centralized control was not as fully realized under the Guptas as it had been under the Mauryas. The Guptan administration was thus highly decentralized, and as patrimonial bureaucracy reached its logical conclusion. In hereditary grants it reflected the quasi-feudal character of the economy. It comprised a network of self-governing tribes and tributary kingdoms, and their chiefs often served as representatives of imperial powers. The Gupta king took exalted titles like Mahadhiraja, Samrat, Ekadi Raja, Chakravartin befitting their large empire and imperial status. The practice of appointing the crown prince, Kumara, came in vogue. The Gupta kings were assisted by a council of ministers, Mantri Parishad Mantrimandalam. The existence of such a council is implied in the Prayaga Allahabad pillar inscription, which speaks of the delight of the Savyas, members, at the selection for Samudragupta for the throne. Among the high officers we may take special notice of the Kumarametya and the Sandivigrahika, who are not known to inscriptions of earlier period. The Kumarametyas formed the chief cadre for recruiting high officials under the Guptas. It was from them that the Mantris, Senapati, Mahadandanayaka, Minister of Justice, and Sandivigrahika, Minister of Peace and War, were generally chosen. The office of Sandivigrahika first appears under Samudragupta, whose Amatya Harisena held this title. 48. Other important officials: Mahapratihari, the chief usher of the royal palace; Danta Pashika, chief officer of police department; Vinaya Sthitisthapaka, chief officer of religious affairs; Mahapilupti, chief of elephant corps; Mahashwapati, chief of cavalry, etc. The important Guptis, i.e. provinces, of Gupta period were Magad, Bardhaman, Pundaravardhana, Tibukti, Northern Bihar, Eastern Malwa, Western Malwa and Saurashtra. Administrative unit head Gupti Bhoga, i.e. province; Uparika Bhogapti Vishaya, i.e. district; Vishayapti Ayukta. Vitika Nagar, i.e. city. Nagapati Purpala Gram, i.e. village. Gramika. The administration of city was in the hand of a council, Pura, which consisted of the president of the city corporation, the chief representative of the guild of merchants, a representative of the artisans and the chief accountant. Whereas under the Mauryas, the city committee was appointed by the Maurya government, under the Guptas, it was comprised of the local representatives. Decentralization of the administrative authority began during the Gupta period. It was during the Gupta rule that the village headmen became more important than before. The Gupta military organization was feudal by character, though the emperor had a large standing army. In the Gupta period for the first time civil and criminal law were clearly defined and demarcated. Gupta kings depended primarily on land revenue, varying from 1st April to 1st June of the produce. During Gupta period the army was to be fed by the people whenever it passed through the countryside. This tax was called Senabhakta. The villagers were also subjected to forced labor called Vishti for serving royal army and officials. The Gupta period also experienced an excess of land grants. Aghara grants, Devagrahara grants. Land grants included the transfer of royal rights over salt and mines, which were under the royal monopoly during the Maurya period. Society. The Varna system begins to get modified owing to the proliferation of castes. This was chiefly due to three factors. A large number of foreigners had been assimilated into the Indian society primarily and were known as Kshatriyas. 2. There was a large absorption of tribal people into Brahmanical society through land grants. The acculturated tribes were absorbed into the Shudra Varna. 3. Guilds of craftsmen were often transformed into castes as a result of the decline of trade and urban centers and the localized character of crafts. The social positions of the Shudras seems to have improved in this period. They were permitted to listen to the epics and Puranas and also worship a new god called Krishna. From around the 3rd century onwards the practice of untouchability appears to have intensified and their number registered a rise. Katyayan, a Smriti writer of 57, the Gupta period was the first to use the expression asprasya to denote the untouchable. The position of women deteriorated further. Polygamy was common. Early marriages were advocated and often pre-puberty marriages took place. The first example of sati appears in Gupta time in 510 AD in Aran in Madhya Pradesh. Bhanugupta's Aran inscription, 510 AD, women were denied any right to property except for strigan in the form of jewelry and garments. Under the patronage of Gupta ruler, Vaishnavism became very popular. The gods were activated by their unions with the respective consorts. Thus, Lakshmi got her association with Vishnu and Parvati got her association with Shiva. This was the period of evolution of Vajrayanism and Buddhist tantric cults. Idol worship became a common feature of Hinduism from Gupta period onwards. Economy. It is argued by many scholars that the state was the exclusive owner of land. The most decisive argument in favor of the exclusive state ownership of land is in the Pahedpur copper plate inscription of Buddhagupta. From the economic standpoint, we may classify land under the Gupta period into 5 groups. 1. Kshetra Bhumi cultivable land. 2. Kila waste land. 3. Vastu Bhumi habitable land. 4. Chargah Bhumi pasture land. 5. Aprahatha Bhumi forest land. In the Gupta period land survey is evident from the Puna plates of Prabhavati Gupta and many other inscriptions. An officer named Pustapla maintained records of all land transactions in the district. The Guptas issued the largest number of gold coins in ancient India, but in gold content, Gupta coins are not as pure as Kushana coins. The Guptas also issued a good number of silver coins for local exchange. Bhaga king's customary share of the produce normally amounting to 1/6 of the produce, paid by all cultivators. Bhoga periodic supplies of fruits, firewood, flowers etc., which the villagers had to furnish to the king. Bali originally it was a voluntary offering by the people to the king, but later it became compulsory. During the Gupta period, it seems to be an additional and oppressive tax. Uparikra an extra tax levied on all subjects. The Gupta copper coins are very few as compared to those of Kushanas, which showed that use of money did not spread to common people. Gupta period witnessed a decline in long-distance trade. Trade with the Roman Empire declined after 3rd century AD. Indian merchants began to rely more heavily on the Southeast Asian trade. 06. The ports of the east coast Tamralipti, Gantashla and Kandura handled the North Indian trade with Southeast Asia, and those of the west coast Bharuch, Chol, Kalyan and Kambal traded with the Mediterranean and West Asia. Culture. The architecture of the Gupta period may be divided into 3 categories: rock-cut caves, Ajanta and Ellora group, Maharashtra, and Bagh, MP. Structural temples, Daswatra temple of Deoghar, Hansi district, UP, the oldest and the best, Shiva temple of Bhamra, Nagod, MP, Vishnu and Kankalai temple, Tigava, MP, Parvati temple of Nanchana Kutwa, Panna district, MP, Shiva temple of Ko, Satna, Panna, MP, Krishna brick temple of Vittagaon, Kanpur, UP, Lakshman temple of Sepur, Raipur, MP, Vishnu temple and Vara temple of Aran, MP. Stupas, Mirpur Khas, Sindh, Dameek, Sarnath, and Ratnagiri, Orissa. The art of architecture attained great heights. By evolving the Nagra style, Shikhar style, the Gupta art ushers in the history of Indian architecture. Shikhra shrine, a Vaishnava symbol, one of the most characteristic features of temple architecture, found its fullest development during this period. The temple architecture, with its Garbhagriha, shrine room, in which the image of the god was placed, began with the Guptas. The fragmentary remains of Daswatra temple of Deoghar is the example of the most ornate and beautifully composed Gupta temple building. The centers of the Gandhar sculptures declined and their places were taken by Banaras, Patliputra and Mathura. For the first time we get images of Vishnu, Shiva and other gods. Among the best specimen of the images of Buddha is a seated Buddha image of Sarnath, which depicts the Buddha preaching the Dhamma. Of the Brahmanical images perhaps the most impressive was the great boar, Varah, carved in relief at the entrance of a cave at Udagiri. The painting of this period are found in Bagh, Dhar district, MP, and Ajanta, Aurangabad district, Maharashtra. The frescoes of the Ajanta caves are the masterpieces of the paintings of this age. Religious literature. A Hindu texts, some of the old religious books, viz. Vayu Purana, Vishnu Purana, Matsya Purana, Ramayana and Mahabharat, Manu Smriti, were rewritten. Nada Smriti, Parashara Smriti, Brihaspati Smriti and Katyayan Smriti were written in this period. Buddhist texts, Abhidharma Kosha, Dignaga, Vishuddhimagga, Buddhghosa, Jain texts, Nyayavartam, Siksna, secular literature Ritusamhar, first poetry, Meghdootam, Kumarsambhavam, Raghuvansam, Malviknagnimitra, first drama, Vikramorvashiyam, Abhijnana Shakuntalam, Kalidasa, Mudra Rakshasa, Visakadeta, Kiretajunya, Bharavi, Kavyadasa, Dasa Kumar Charita, Dandin, Mrichatika, Sudraka, Panchatantra, Vishnu Sharma, Kamasutra, Vatsyayan. 20. Scientific literature. Aryabhatya, Surya Siddhant, Aryabhatta, Brahmasiddhanta, Brahmagupta, Pacha Siddhantaka, Vrihat Sanhita, Vrihat Jathaka, Lagu Jathaka, Varahemihira, Ashtanga Hridaya, Medicine, Vagbhatta, Navanitakam, Dhanvantri, Mahabhaskarya, Lagu Bhaskara, Bhaskar, Hastyayurveda, Palkapya. Note. Manusmriti was translated into English under the title of Institutes of Hindu Law by William Jones. Abhijnana Shakuntalam, i.e. Recognition of Shakuntala, was translated in English by William Jones. Kalidas is known as the Shakespeare of India. Mrichatika, i.e. the clay cart, love story of a poor Brahman Charudakta and the virtuous courtesan Vasantasena, is notable for its realistic depiction of city life. 5. Kamsutra is the earliest book on sex. 6. Brahmasiddhanta was translated in Arabic under the title of Sindh Hind. Gupta period, golden age of ancient India. Reality or myth? Arguments. 4. 1. There were political units, foreign rule was completely removed and peace and prosperity prevailed too. Enlightened character of government, i.e. taxes were light, punishment mild, etc. 3. Revival of Hinduism but there was tolerance of all other religions. 4. Use of Sanskrit developed and art and literature flourished during the period. 5. Great personage like Kalidasa, Amarsinha, Dhanvantri, Aryabhatta, Varahemihira etc. lived during this period. Against 1. Existence of too many feudatories. 2. Absence of large central army and bureaucracy. 3. Development of feudal elements, increasing land grants, serfdom, subinfeudation etc. 4. Decline of trade and guilds. 5. Decline of urban centers. 6. Increasing Varna distinction and so disorder. 7. Decline in status of women. Post-Gupta period Vardhana Dinas. 550 AD 647 AD, Pushyabhuti Vardhana dynasty. The Pushyabhuti or Vardhana dynasty was founded at Thainswar, Kurukshetra district, Haryana, by Pushyabhuti probably towards the beginning of the 6th century. Pushyabhuti were the feudatories of the Guptas, but has assumed independence after the Han invasions. The first important ruler of the dynasty was Prabhakravardhana, 580 to 605 AD. Prabhakravardhana was succeeded by his eldest son Rajavardhana, 605 to 606 AD. Rajavardhana had to face problems from the day of his succession to the throne. Grahavraman, the Moikari ruler of Kannauj and husband of Rajashri, sister of Rajavardhana, was murdered by Devagupta, the ruler of Malwa, who in alliance with Shashanka, ruler of God or northwestern Bengal, now occupied Kannauj and imprisoned Rajashri. Rajavardhana, therefore, undertook a campaign against Devagupta and killed him, but he was killed by escaped Shashanka into the in forests 606 AD. Of in central the meanwhile India. Rajashri. 46. Harshavardhana, 606 to 647 AD. After the killing of Rajavardhana, his younger brother, Harshavardhana also known as Siladitya, ascended the Pushyabhuti throne in 606 AD and from this year started the Harsha era. After ascending the throne, Harsha first rescued his widowed sister Rajashri from the Vindhyan forest, where she was going to throw herself into fire. Harsha drove out Shashanka from Kannauj, who had occupied it after killing Ravavardhana. He not only unified Kannauj with Thainswar but also made it his new capital, which made him the most powerful king of North India. Harsha thereafter proceeded towards the east against Shashanka with a view to avenging the death of his brother, Rajavardhana and brother-in-law, Grahavraman. Harsha was not successful in his first expedition against God, but in his second expedition towards the close of his reign, after the death of Shashanka, died in 637 AD, he conquered Magad and Shashanka's empire. Harshavardhana defeated Dhruvsena too, the Matraka ruler of Vallabhi. However, Harsha, in order to secure the safety of the western boundary, reinstated him and gave his daughter in marriage to Dhruvsena too. Dhruv Sena too accepted the position of a feudatory vassal. It was an important diplomatic achievement of Harsha. The course of Harsha's conquests suffered a serious setback on his expedition towards the Deccan. Pulkeshin I of Chalukya dynasty of Vatapi-Vadami inflicted a decisive defeat on him at the bank of Narmada. It was the only defeat of Harsha's victorious life. The Chalukya records describe Harsha as the lord of the whole of northern country, Sakalotarapswara. The area under his control covered many parts of northern India, eastern Rajasthan and the Ganges valley as far as Assam. His empire included territories of distant feudal kings too. Harsha maintained diplomatic relations with China. In 641 AD, he sent an envoy to Taizong, the Tang Emperor of China. 3 Chinese missions subsequently visited his court. He Yuanzhang, the celebrated Chinese pilgrim, visited India during Harsha's reign. He spent about 8 years, 635 to 643 AD, in the dominions of Harsha. He Yuanzhang mentions 2 most celebrated events of Harsha's reign: the assemblies at Kannauj and at Prayaga. The Kannauj assembly, 643 AD, was held in the honor of He Yuanzhang and to popularize Mahayana sect of Buddhism. The Prayaga assembly was held in 643,644 AD. In Prayaga, Harshavardhana used to celebrate religious festivals at the end of every 5 years, at the confluence of the Ganges, the Yamuna and the Saraswati. It is said that this was the beginning of Kumbh fair. Harshavardhana was a Shaiva by faith, but he showed equal respect to other sects. He Yuanzhang portrays him as a liberal Buddhist, Mahayana, who also honored gods of other sects. According to He Yuanzhang, Nalanda University, meant for Buddhist monks, was maintained by the revenue from 100 villages which was granted by Harshavardhana. 46. He died in 647 AD. Harsha does not appear to have any heir to his throne, which was usurped after his death by his minister named Arunashva. Harshavardhana was not only a patron of learning, but was himself an accomplished author. He wrote 3 Sanskrit plays: Nagananda, Ratnavali and Priyodasika. He gathered around him a circle of learned men, of whom Banabhatta, the author of Harshacharita, an important historical work narrating the incidents of the earlier part of Harsha's reign, and Kadambari, a poetical novel of great literary merit, and Mayur, the author of Mayur Shataka and Surya Shatak are the well-known ones. Harsha governed his empire on the same lines as the Guptas did, except that his administration had become more feudal and decentralized. States of the Deccan and South India Chalukyas of Vatapi-Vadami, 543 to 755 AD, the Vaktaka power was followed by Chalukyas. Chalukyas established their capital at Vatapi-Vadami in the district of Bijapur in Karnataka. Pulkesin II, 609 to 42 AD, was able to check Harsha's design to conquer Deccan. Aihole inscription is an eulogy written by his court poet Ravikirti. He sent an ambassador to the Persian king Khusrau II in 625 AD and also received one from him. The Chinese pilgrim He Yuanzhang visited his kingdom. Pallava ruler Narasimhavarman, Mamala invaded the Chalukya kingdom, killed Pulkesin II and captured Vatapi. He adopted the title Vatapikonda, i.e. the conqueror of Vatapi. In 757 AD, Chalukyas were overthrown by their feudatories, the Rashtrakutas. Vaisra-style Deccan-style Chalukyas began the Vaisra style or Deccan style in building structural temples, which however reached culmination only under the Rashtrakutas and the Hoysala. Specimens of Chalukyan temples: 1 Vaisar-style Jinendra temple, Meguthi temple Aihole, Ravikirti, Vishnu temple Aihole, Lad Khan temple, attributed to god Surya, Aihole, Durga temple Aihole. Aihole is called a town of temples because it contains about 70 temples. 2 Nagra style, Papanatha temple Patadakal. 3 Dravida style, Virupaksh temple and Sangamiswara temple Patadakal. Pallavas of Kachi, 575 to 897 AD. There is a controversy regarding the origin of the Pallavas. Possibly the Pallavas were a local tribe who established their authority in the Tandaimandalam or the land of creepers. They were orthodox Brahmanical Hindus and their capital was Kachi. Both Chalukyas and Pallavas tried to establish their supremacy over the land between Krishna and Tungabhadra. 48. Pallava king Narasimhavarman, 630 to 668 AD, occupied Chalukyan capital Vatapi in about 642 AD and assumed the title Vatapikondai. Conqueror of Vatapi. Pallavas were instrumental in spreading Indian culture in Southeast Asia. Till the 8th century AD, Pallava influence was predominant in Cambodia. The Pallava type of shikra is to be found in the temples of Java, Cambodia and Annam. Pallava art. Pallavas began the Dravida style of temple architecture, which reached its culmination under the rule of Cholas. The development of temple architecture, particularly Dravida style, under the Pallavas can be seen in 4 stages. Mahendravarmana I temple at Varavkona group, 600 to 630 AD, North Arcot dist, Ananteswar temple at Andavali, Guntur dist. Mamala group Narasimhavarmana I Mandapa temples, Mamala, and Ratha temples, 630 to 668 AD, Sapt pagodas, at Mamalpuram, Mahabalipuram. Rajsimha group Narasimhavarmana II Kalashnatha and temple at Gudimalam. The Pallavas also contributed to the development of sculpture in South India. The Pallava sculpture is indebted largely to the Buddhist tradition. It is more monumental and linear in form, thus avoiding the typical ornamentation of the Deccan sculpture. The best example is the descent of the Ganges or Arjuna's penance at Mamalpuram. Gupta, N. Post-Gupta dynasties and their founders. Dynasty founder the Chalukyas of Vatapi Jayasimha, the Gangas of Talkar Konkanivama, the Guptas of Magadh Sri Gupta, the Kadambas of Vanvasi Mayoshaman, the kingdom of god Shashanka, the kingdom of Thainswar Pushyabhuti, the later Guptas of Magadh Malwa Krishna Gupta, the Maitrakas of Vallabhi Bhattaka, the Moikaris of Kannauj Yajnavarman, the Pallavas of Kachi Singhavarman, the Pandyas of Madurai Kodungan, the Vaktakas Vindhya Shakti. Medieval India 10. Early medieval period, 650 to 1206, I. North India, Rajputa period. After Harshavardhana, the Rajputas emerged as a powerful force in northern India and dominated the Indian political scene for nearly 500 years from the 7th century. 01. 10 important Rajputa period capital founder kingdoms Chauhan Chahman of 7th cent. Delhi Vasudeva Delhi Ajmer 1192 Pratihara Parihar of 730 to 1036 Avanti, Nagbattai Kannauj Pawar Parmar of 790 to 1150 Ujjain, Dar Sekh to Malwa, Sri Harsha, Cholukya Solanki of 942 to 1187 Anihalwala Mulajai Kathiyavar Rashtrakuta of Malkand 752 to 973 Malkand Dantidurg, Danti Manyaketa Verman II, Chandela of 831 to 1202 Khajuraho, Nannuk, Jejka Bukti, Mahoba, Kalimjir Chandela Kalchuri Haihaya of Chedi, 850 to 1211 Tripuri Kokalai Gadwal Rathor of Kannauj 1090 to 1194 Kannauj Chandiradeva Tomar of surrounding areas of Haryana and Delhi Dilika. Guhilutha Sisodia of 8th cent. Chittor Bapa Rawal, Mewar. 1930. Hamirai tripartite struggled towards the close of the 8th century AD. There were three great powers in India: the Palas in the east, the Goja Patihara in the north and the Rashtrakutas in the Deccan. The tripartite struggle for the supremacy among the Palas, the Patiharas and the Rashtrakutas was the important event of these centuries. The main cause for this struggle was the desire to possess the city of Kannauj, Kannauj Dist, UP, which was then a symbol of sovereignty. The Palas, 750 to 1150 capital, Muddagiri Munger, Bihar. Gopala founded the Pala Empire in 750 AD. His son Dharmpala, 770 to 810, succeeded him. Dharmpala revived Nalanda University. He founded the Vikramshila University. The Pala dynasty was succeeded by Sena dynasty of Bengal. Jaldev, Gita Govinda, was the great court poet of Laxman Sen. The Pratiharas, 730 to 1036. The Pratiharas are also called Gujara Pratiharas probably because they originated from Gujarat or southwest Rajasthan. Goja Mihib Goja, 836 to 882, was the greatest ruler of this dynasty. He was a devotee of Vishnu and adopted the title of Adivre. The Rashtrakutas, 752 to 973. Dantidurg, 752 to 756, who fixed his capital at Malkand Malkail, Gulbarga Dist, Karnataka, founded the kingdom. The greatest Rashtrakuta rulers were Govinda III, 793,814, and Amugvarsha, 814 to 878. Amugvarsha ruled for 64 years but by temperament he preferred pursuit of religion and literature to war. He was himself an author. 06. Indian and wrote Kavi Rajmarga, the earliest Kannada book on poetics. The famous rock-cut temple of Kailash, Shiva, at Ellora was built by one of the Rashtrakuta kings Krishna I. Other important rulers. Prithviraj Chauhan, 1178 to 92. He ruled over Delhi and Agra and fought two important battles, viz. First Battle of Tarain was fought in 1191 between the forces of Prithviraj Chauhan and Muhammad Ghori in which the latter was defeated. Second Battle of Tarain was fought in 1192 when Muhammad Ghori again invaded India in which Prithviraj Chauhan was defeated and captured and later on slain. The kingdom of Delhi fell to Muhammad Ghori. The Battle of Tarain had great significance in the political scene as it led to the establishment of Muslim rule over North India and subsequently in the south for several centuries. Jaichand Gadwal Rathor, 1169 to 94, he was the last Rajputa king who was also defeated and killed by Muhammad Ghori in the Battle of Chandiwar, 1194. Rana Kumbha, the Sisodia ruler of Mewar, 1433 to 68, Rana Kumbha was the famous ruler of Mewar. He defeated Muhammad Khilji and erected the Tower of Victory, Vijayastambha, in Chittor. His successors Rana Sangram Singh, Rana Sanga, and Rana Pratap were also great kings of Mewar state. Salient features of the Rajputa kingdoms: the country remained free of invasions but lost foreign contact. The caste system was rigid. The Rajputas were proud, warrior and people but hospitable. In the field of culture many great fortresses and temples were built by them such as Khajuraho, MP, Lingaraja Temple, Bhubaneswar, Odisha, Sun Temple, Konarka, Odisha, the Jagannath Temple, Puri, Dilwara Temple, Mount Abu. Causes of the decline of Rajputas: lack of unity and foresightedness, caste system and defective military organization were some of the causes for the downfall of the Rajputas. To South India, Cholas and others. The Chola Empire, 850-1279 AD. Capital, Tanjore, Gangaikonda Kolapuram. The founder of the Chola dynasty was Vijayalaya, who was at first a feudatory of the Pallavas. He captured Tanjore in 850 AD. The greatest Chola rulers were Rajaraja, 985-1014 AD, and his son Rajendra I, 1014-1044 AD. Rajaraja built Vrihdeshwar Rajrajeshwar temple, attributed to Shiva, at Tanjore. Rajendra I conquered Orissa, Bengal, Burma and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The Chola dynasty was at its zenith during his reign. Rajendra I assumed the title of Gangaikondakola and built a city called Gangaikondakolapuram. The last ruler of Chola dynasty was Rajendra III. The king was the head of central authority helped by a council of ministers, but the administration was democratic. 29. The Chola Empire was divided into mandalams, province, and these in turn were divided into Valnadu, commissionary, Nadu, district, and Karam, a group of villages. The arrangement of local self-government is regarded as the basic feature of the administration of Cholas. Land revenue and trade tax were the main sources of income. The style of architecture which came into vogue during this period is called Dravida e.g. Kalashnath Temple of Kachipuram. Another aspect was image-making which reached its climax in the dancing figure of Shiva called Nataraja. Kambana, who wrote Ramvatram, was one of the greatest figures of Tamil poetry. His Ramayana is also known as Kamba Ramayana. Kambana, Kuttana and Pugelandi are considered as three gems of Tamil poetry. In the temples, the Vimana or the tall pyramidal tower dominates the whole structure of the shrine and imparts an extraordinary dignity to it. Gopuram and Garbhagriha are the other two important structures. The best specimens are the temples of Vijayalaya, Choleshwara, the Nageshwara temple, the Koranganath temple and the Muvrakovitha temple. Other kingdoms of South. Kingdom capital real founder Western later Kalyani, Karnataka Telaptu. Chalukyas, 973 to 1200. Kakatiyas, 1110 to 1326, Warangal, Andhra P. Prolajatu Yadvas, 1187 to 1312, Devagiri, Maharashtra P. Lamvi. Hoysala, 1173 to 1342, Dwasamudra, Vittikdev. Karnataka, Vishnuvardhan. Note, the temple of Hoyasleshwara at Dwasamudra, modern Halebid, is the greatest achievement of Hoysala art. 11 Sultanate period, 1206-1526 AD. I. The Delhi Sultanate. The background of Delhi Sultanate. First Muslim invasion. Muhammad bin Qasim's invasion, 712 AD. Muhammad bin Qasim invaded India in 712 AD and conquered Sindh, which became the province of Umayyad Khilafat. First Turk invasion. Mahmud Janavi's invasion, 1000 to 27 AD. Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni led about 17 expeditions to India to enrich himself by taking away the wealth from India. In 1025 he attacked and raided the most celebrated Hindu temple of Somnath that lies on the coast in the extreme south of Kathivor. The temple was destroyed in 1026 AD. As a reward for his services to Islam, he received the title, Yamin al-Dawla, right hand of the state, from Abbasid Caliph. His dynasty thus also come to be known as the Yamini dynasty. Second Turk invasion. Muhammad Ghori's invasion, 1175 to 125 AD. Muhammad Ghori invaded India and laid the foundation of the Muslim dominion in India. He may be considered as the founder of Muslim rule in India. 07. Reasons for the success of Turks in India. 1. Rajputas lacked unity and organization and were divided by rivalries. 2. There was no central government. 3. The Rajput kingdoms were small and scattered. 4. The Turks were better organized and took advantage of the lack of mutual cooperation among the Rajputas. The Delhi Sultanate, 1206 to 1526 AD. Muhammad Ghori's conquests became the nucleus of our new political entity in India, the Delhi Sultanate. This period can be divided into 5 distinct periods, viz. 1. The Slave Dynasty, 1206 to 90. 2. The Khilji Dynasty, 1290 to 1320. 3. The Tughlaq Dynasty, 1320 to 1414. 4. The Sayyid Dynasty, 1414 to 51. 5. The Lodhi Dynasty, 1451 to 1526. The Slave Dynasty, 1200.